Hey guys, what's up YouTube? I wanted to come on and do a quick live, do some questions, have a chat, go over like some new things that are happening, just like a quick like Sunday Q&A live. I haven't been on here in a while. I've been so thirsty today. It was literally like 75 degrees out yesterday. And today it's 50, I think. It's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So anyways, I posted in the community forum yesterday that I was going to be on here. So I have some questions kind of go off of what's up, girl. But yeah, I don't really come on here too often. I apologize, guys. Find me on IG. I'm doing lives on there probably like once a week. I just did one on Facebook earlier. Hey guys, hey guys. I don't know what the chat's about today. Probably like a bunch of stuff actually. So let's get into some stuff. So like I said, I posted some questions. Some people left some stuff, so we can get into that. But I kind of want to just like go with the vibe and see what happens. Something that I always have a list of like running videos that I want to do. So one of them lately, it's been because I read the comments and I get your emails and like all that kind of different stuff. I deleted Facebook for my sanity. I hear you. I mean, I don't know how I feel about social media. I like it in a lot of sense because I think just the ability to like connect, learn stuff. I mean, look, there's a positive and negative to everything. So you kind of have to take it for what it is. You know what I mean? Jelly bean. Houston, what's up? UK, good morning or good evening. So yeah. But yeah, so anyway, so I always have a running list of like videos and topics that I want to cover. Lately, I feel like the entrepreneurial thing is like a big thing, self-motivation, procrastination. And like lately I've been putting a lot of like self-acceptance stuff in there just because after I get off a session with someone or if I read a message and I just hear what someone's going through, there's just, and I hate using the phrase love yourself, like learning how to love yourself, because I know it's like just a term that's like thrown around a lot, but learning how to, and that's why I always say like learning how to be emotionally and mentally healthy, like that's kind of like what I've made my love yourself into being, because you just gotta learn how to take care of yourself. You gotta learn how to accept yourself for who you are, know yourself really, really well, and love yourself for that. And I think that's something that we oftentimes don't do because we go off of these ideals of the way I'm supposed to be, the way life is supposed to be. I should be like this. I should do more of this. And there's a balance between pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone and knowing when maybe like we're self-sabotaging ourselves or keeping ourselves stuck versus just like learning, who am I? Like that's a big part of self-development is like, who are you? A lot of the times we dive into these realms of self-development. For me, I've always loved psychology. I've always asked questions. I've always been a helper. I always wanted to help people in some way. And I think just exploring, when you start self-development, a lot of the times it's because you hit some kind of a pain threshold. Maybe you're like just realizing now that like your spouse is narcissistic and it kind of starts with that. And so you have these questions of like, why is this person like this? Or why am I this way? Or why can't I achieve this? Or why, like you start asking those whys. And then when you start asking the whys, this pain comes up and it kind of forces you to awaken a little bit, to be a little bit more conscious to yourself. And that kind of just like opens the floodgates to this world of self-development that we're in. And being more conscious, being more mindful, learning about ourselves, learning about life, learning about how to find peace, joy, happiness, along with achieving goals and success and all of those kind of things. I think you have to find that balance between being that achiever and striving and realizing you're no different than anyone else. And if you want to be the billionaire, you can be the billionaire, but like also accepting that like all of these goals that you set for yourself, they're not going to be it. They're not going to be the thing that's going to give you this happiness that you want, that you need, that you crave. It's going to give you a high. It's going to fulfill you in some ways. Of course, we would love to be financially secure and whatever that means. But at the end of the day, it's not going to fulfill that need inside, find that peace. And so you have to do that within your own self and like really learning who are you and accepting you and learning how to motivate you validate yourself, soothe yourself. That's why I always talk about self-parenting, is because you got to learn how to do this stuff, you guys. It's a practice. It's not something that you just like, okay, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to, listen to stuff. I'm going to take some notes. I'm going to, really work on myself. It's a practice that you have to do every single day. And the very first start is you got to be aware. You got to be aware of when you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. You got to be aware of when you're telling yourself stories that aren't true. You got to practice learning how to detach from stories that aren't helping you. If a story's not helping you, if it's not making you feel good, if it's not soothing you in any way, in the healthy way, you know what I mean, not suppressing, then that's not your thought. That thought's coming from a place, probably from your childhood, probably from society, probably from programming, probably from other people, but it's coming from something outside of yourself. You were meant to connect to whatever, God, source, energy, whatever, unconditional love, and be able to take care of yourself. But in order to do that, you really have to slow yourself down a lot in day-to-day life. And it's not just always distracting ourselves. It's trying to find like the calm in today. That's why they always say meditation is really helpful. I remember years ago, a friend of mine, who she's definitely enlightened for sure. She's definitely self-aware. And she, loves yoga, loves meditation. And I remember going through that period of like where I was constantly having anxiety, and, I had this job and I was making all this money, and from the outside, anyone would love that job or, feel so fulfilled in it, I guess. And I was good at it, but there was something that was still inside of me that was just suffering. And it was because I was doing something that I was good at, but not doing the thing that I was meant to do. And I remember her telling me, like, you need to start meditating. And I was like, okay. I'm like, dude, I can't sit there and quiet my mind. Like, are you kidding me? Like, how boring is that? But it became, and the only reason why I started doing it was I actually started doing it through guided meditations. And I learned, and long story short, but I learned how to just calm myself down for a minute so I could gain some clarity on what it is that I was actually thinking and telling myself that was causing me to feel the way I was feeling. And so then it started this whole process of like actually loving meditation, loving peace and quiet, loving stillness. Because it for me, being highly sensitive, it gave me a chance to like recharge the batteries, but it also gave me that space of a little bit of clarity rather than just, hey, Tom, rather than just like attaching to everything that I was thinking in my mind, and letting it take me down these rabbit holes. Oh my God, that was like a huge thing, was being able to like slow down to find those stories where before I would have just fed them and they would have just taken me down a rabbit hole. But at least now I was, living a more, I don't want to say purposeful life, but I had more intention in my day-to-day to be aware of myself because I wanted to have a good day. It just started with waking up being like, I just want to have a good day. And then noticing, when did that good day start to kind of like fall, right? And chances are I could blame it on outside circumstances. I could blame it on, well, this person didn't like me. This guy was a jerk at, Target, and this didn't happen for me. And I really want this goal and I haven't gotten it yet. And so why am I, it could be all of those external things, but it really wasn't. It was just my own self. So hence the practice, the daily practice. Let's get on here and answer some questions. Actually, you know what? Let me go to the community and see what's in here. How to stop ruminating about the past and let go of anger and frustration attached to it. So anger and frustration, that's just a mask for sadness. It's just a mask for disappointment. So I think when you start to deal with the sadness and the disappointment, someone once said to me, like, how do you like feel something and move through it in a healthy way? Well, how you feel it is by actually feeling it, by owning the fact that I'm not really angry and frustrated. I'm disappointed and I'm sad. And sitting in that for a second rather than letting the anger just mask what it is that you really need to feel. That's where you never get better, because you're just suppressing what it is that's really going on inside. So once you kind of like own that, like, all right, straight up, I'm not angry. I'm really sad that this person did this, or this is the situation, or this is where I'm at this point in my life. And I'm frustrated, which is basically sadness and disappointment, like I said. So once you kind of deal with that, your mind is always going to want to go to the thing that it's always done. And so if you understand that concept, then you realize that you ruminating is just an addictive pattern, an addictive behavior that you've done time and time again regarding this one thing. Because by ruminating with it and not letting it go, in some sense, you feel a sense of control, whereas letting it go is actually just a conscious decision that you make. That's it. But it's a decision that you have to make time and time again. You know what I mean? Because again, you fed this for so long that it's big. And so when it comes up, you have to choose to let it go. You have to choose to replace it with, how do you actually want to feel? Let me focus and think about and visualize and fantasize about what I want to have happen versus what I don't want to have happen. So that's how you stop ruminating. The more you keep doing it, the more you consciously are aware of like, oh, look, here I go. I'm ruminating. I'm overthinking. I'm obsessively thinking about something. The minute you can be aware of it and then decide, I don't want to ruminate about this because I'm going to take my energy, and instead of taking my energy to ruminate and obsess about this, I'm going to take my energy and actually focus on where I want to go and what I want to have happen. Use that power of like visualization to, go forward rather than just staying back. I am thirsty today, man. I feel like all this last week I've had so much coffee, which I don't normally. I go through like phases because I'm so sensitive to caffeine and I always have decaf, but there are just some weeks where I'm like, oh, I just want a coffee so bad. I love the flavor. I love the taste. And then by the end of the week, I'm like, oh my God, I just need to drink a ton of water. Let's see what's going on. Thank you for your encouragement. Absolutely. I love what I do. I want to, not just like teach you guys stuff. Like you can Google the 7 traits of a narcissist. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Anyone can do that stuff. You can learn the book stuff of anything and anyone can teach it to you. It's learning that kind of, I don't want to just say spirituality, but it's about learning that other aspect of self-development. That's why I always say, like, it's about learning how to love yourself. It's learning about who am I? It's learning about being your own best friend. Like what was I watching the other day? I was watching something and the guy said, you are the only person that has been with you every single day of your life and will be with you every single day of your life for your entire life. I was like, oh, that is so lovely. That's such a nice thing to like realize, that like you are the constant. So like you have to learn how to be your own best friend. And, when we're growing up, yeah, of course, we don't get the situations that we want and all that kind of stuff and absolutely validation all day long. But at some point you kind of have to say, yeah, I didn't get it. Yep. My, husband wasn't what I wanted him to be, or my girlfriend's not, who I thought she was, and all that kind of stuff. And you have to kind of like let it go to be able to move forward, to like have the stuff that you really want in your life and just be good. You know what I mean? Like just enjoy life. That's why I was like, the simplicities of life are so important. Like practicing being more in the moment, practicing understanding how this mind works and the stories that you create and the stories that you tell yourself and how it keeps you stuck from anything, from being able to motivate yourself to procrastination, to just living a good life, to just having a nice day, regardless of any circumstances whatsoever. It was 75 degrees out yesterday and sunny and gorgeous. And it's cloudy and cold and 50. I could easily allow that to have an effect on my mood. And, let's keep it real. Some days it does. Okay. But I'm aware of it. And so at a certain point, I hit enough pain where I'm like, I'm tired of allowing external things to have that kind of control over me. You know what I mean? Queen bee. No one's ever called me that. So you ignore them? Ignore what? The external things? Well, I think it's about just control. So is my happiness about everything being the way I would want it to be? I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, don't we all want that? We all want everything to pan out the way we want it to pan out. We don't want to experience any letdown, disappointment, fear, unhappiness, icky feelings, and all that stuff. So it's a practice to be able to say, number one, I'm basing my okayness, my I'm good, on outside people. That's why responding and reacting, that whole segment, that you hear about and read about and try to learn how to do, for me, I got it like not easily, but the minute I kind of understood that, like, wow, like by me reacting, that means someone has control over me. Oh my God. Like, I was like, nope, nope, nope. That stops right here. And then it wasn't my job to want to control everything. Like, it's not my job to control the weather. If I didn't like it here, I would move to Florida or somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, um, it's not my job to have the guy down the street be who I think he should be. I don't want that on me. You know what I mean? Because that means that, again, someone else has control over me, that my day is determined by whether or not Joe down the street decides that he wants to be a good guy today. Like, I'm all set because I don't have control over Joe. And so when he's not a good guy, like, is that going to alter my mood? That's empowering. That's, if you want to like have control in a sense and have that ego like just running your show, let the ego do that, help you in that way. I react a lot. Thank you. Thank you for your videos. I think, you got to know, there's a couple of things that I always like kind of like preface this regarding self-development. Number one, you got to know who you are and what you want. Like, for years, not only did I not know I was highly sensitive, but I think the things that made me who I was, I looked down upon because I didn't fully accept who I was. I didn't honor who I was. And even to this day, there are still things about just the way I'm made up, being highly sensitive, being this type of person that I get annoyed with, because I want to keep going. And I know, sorry, the sun's like cutting in and out. I want to keep going and I know I can't. I know I have to stop. So like today, for example, I've done a video, I've done a live, I'm doing this live, I ran errands. So after this, I'm going to edit a video and then I'm done. Because if I keep going, then number one, the quality starts to go down because I need to chill, And so I think understanding who I am, what I need, what works best for me, truck goes by, is that's important. And then knowing, what do I want out of this life? What do I want in a partner? How should a partner be? Not that I can control them and I don't want to, but I'm trying to find someone that works with me, that works with my personality. For years, I always said, I wanted, like this type of a person. And I got that person every single time. And every single time it didn't work out because I wasn't really honoring who I was. I didn't really know who I was yet to be able to form that this is the kind of partner that I should have. I also came from a lot of lack. I obviously came from codependency and things like that. And so you just you don't really think about it. You just say, oh, I found you, you found me. And you don't really think about whether or not someone's good for you. You just sign up and just roll the dice. And you're like, okay, let's see if this works. So a big part of self-development is you got to know who you are, got to be able to take care of yourself on a lot of levels, multitude of levels, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And then know what you want. Like, what are your standards? What are your goals? Once you have goals and you know that piece, then you can start working towards stuff. And the beauty is once you start working towards stuff, all of the past comes forward, all of your wounds, all of your limiting beliefs, all of your negative self-talk, all of that stuff that you're reading about, you're watching videos, you're listening to the podcast and doing all the things right. And it's like, cool. But until you start actually going out into life, you can be single for 10 years, but the minute you meet someone, all your insecurities are going to come to the forefront. So embrace life, go out into the world, strive for things. And that's where the real work actually comes. It's not always just from, doing the videos, doing the programs, doing the seminars. That's important, 100%. Invest in yourself, keep that muscle going. But at some point, you got to put what you're learning into practice, into play. Good morning. Hello from Germany. So crazy. I think it's because I come from the generation where like this didn't exist forever. You know what I mean? Like the younger generation that has just grown up with technology in this way, this won't be weird to them that, oh, look, there's someone from Amsterdam and Germany and whatever. They'll just be like, oh yeah, whatever. Whereas me, I still find it so crazy that we're all around the world. doing this. Jamaica. How is it in Jamaica? I've never been, actually. All right, whoops. There goes that. Let's get into some other stuff. Also, side note, we have a couple things that we rolled out. I don't even know if I talk about them in videos. I know I talk about them on social media, but if you guys aren't interested in doing programs and stuff like that, I have 2 programs. One's the 9-week course. It's all about healing from the past, wounds, traumas, understanding what it is that you went through, healing it. I talk about self-parenting in every single thing that I do, so you'll always get that. So the 9-week course is all about healing. The boot camp is all about moving you forward. So now we're talking about setting goals, achieving them, things like that. So we have those 2 programs. You can do them individually, or you can do a bundle, which is doing both at the same time. Really what you should do is the healing and then the rebuilding, but do whatever. And you can do both of them at a discounted rate. So everything's on my website. We also just launched a new, hold on, where are the questions? Okay, there. We also just launched a new community membership forum. So I love forums. I think they're a great way to connect with each other, to validate each other, because everyone's at different levels. Everyone on here has gone through something different. There's obviously, you guys have probably gone through similar things, but they're not going to be exactly the same. And everyone's at different levels of their journey. And there's nothing better than, number one, talking to someone who's been where you are and has come out the other side so good, and that can keep you motivated and keep you going, and like what helped them. And I think that that's just so great. And then also being able to help someone that has been where you have been. I mean, I love what I do. And I couldn't be any happier doing it. So I love this because it's a forum. We're going to talk about different topics every single week. This week we're on narcissism. Next week we're on codependency. And then there's also a section where you get content from me that's exclusive to anything else. So it's good stuff. All right, let's get into how does one overcome love bombing and discarding from someone else? How does one handle ghosting? Well, I mean, first of all, for me, love bombing, especially if it's in the beginning phases of getting to know someone, I don't even find that attractive, because if you are all into it and like this whirlwind has come over you, to me, you're just as unhealthy as the person that's actually doing it. So if I just met you, then I don't want to be love bombed. I want to gradually get there through getting to know you. But I don't know you. So I don't want you to tell me that I'm your soulmate and, you're the love of my life, and going so far above and beyond, especially in early phases of dating. But that's different than just like romance and having like a nice courtship. Absolutely. So for me, overcoming love bomb in terms of being in a relationship where now you're in a cycle, I mean, honestly, you just have to recognize the patterns that you're in and accept the fact that you are now in this phase of the cycle. And next comes this phase where the abuse starts, and then comes this phase where the love bombing starts. And then, you're going around and around. So you kind of have to, it's 2 separate types of love bombing depending on where the relationship is. Discarding, how do you overcome discarding? I mean, here's the thing, like, I've been there, and it's, in the midst of it, of course, you're hurt, you're bruised, you're heartbroken. I've been there 100%. But I think there always was a part of me that understood that this person, number one, didn't love me. So, and that's sad, of course, because you probably loved them. I loved, and I loved wholeheartedly, but that person didn't really value me, didn't really respect me, didn't really love me. And while that is sad, I would rather be discarded than having to do the breakup myself, because it is torment being in the cycle, and this person is not going to end the relationship, and you have to, especially if you've been with them for a long period of time, especially if there's some kind of cognitive dissonance of like who you think this person is and who they're showing you they are, especially when you have kids involved. So it's a lot to be able to just like leave a relationship on your own. Whereas when someone discards you, they did the work for you. They made that decision. And while of course it's painful, if you really are honest with yourself, then you'll kind of accept that anyone that doesn't love me and see my value, why do you want that person? So then you are starting to come to terms with perhaps that your relationship was based on some unhealthy behaviors and wounds inside of you as well. Getting your ego bruised if someone discards you for someone else. At the end of the day, like there's a million reasons why someone will just abruptly leave a relationship with no warning, no clear sign, and just leaves you for someone else. There's a multitude of reasons, and I've talked about them, and I'll continue to talk about them. But, number one is this new person just is giving this person things that you couldn't. And that is not a bad thing. Don't ever take that as a bad thing. Handle ghosting. I think, yeah, of course you're going to be disappointed. You got ghosted. You were starting to like be intrigued by someone or whatever. But again, it goes back to if someone, not everyone is going to love you. Not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to be into you. Not everyone's going to value you. So I think we need to stop living in a fantasy world that everyone's supposed to, love me and be there for me and be there for me forever. And, just all of those kind of, I don't want to say immature, but just naive ways of living. There are just people that just decide one day that they don't want to talk to you ever again and they don't return your calls. Now, depending on where the relationship is and how far deep you're into it, of course, there's some healing that's involved. I'm not totally not insensitive to that, but I'm talking about like really beginning phases of dating. Don't get your ego bruised because someone just decides to bounce after a couple weeks. Carry on and just know that person's not it. But you're going to find them and they're coming soon, and get excited for that. That excitement of like, okay, that person wasn't it. I thought he was, maybe not, or she wasn't it, but they're coming there, and just keeping yourself motivated to go forward. You will get everything that you want. You just got to keep that faith and that hope and keep working and keep doing what you're doing. But that's the case for everything in life: relationship, goal, career, whatever, any goal, that's the case. Let's see. Good morning. Oh, I skipped. That went really fast. Hold on. I was just reading something. I lost that question. Right, that I have to, and then start turning. Hold on. How do I get over a breakup or being heartbroken? For me, it is hard to get over. How would I get over a breakup or being heartbroken? For me, it is hard to get over it. Well, absolutely. It's hard to get over it because there was an idea of what it was supposed to be, and now that's not coming to fruition. So that's why the heart breaks, because there was love there. Think about anything. You're married to someone and you're having, you're in a great relationship and they pass away abruptly. Heartbreak. Someone just decides to leave you. Heartbreak. Someone decides they don't want to be married to you anymore. Heartbreak. That's a normal thing that you have to experience. That's grief. You know what I mean? And you just have to be able to soothe yourself. And like I said, the parenting, the being your own best friend, all of that stuff, it's about honoring what it is that you're feeling, but not letting yourself stay there for too long in a very, I don't want to say unlogical place, but in a place where it's not helping you, So, excuse me, if this was your best friend, your child, someone that you really love, and they were going through this, of course you would be there for them emotionally and soothe them. And I understand, absolutely, let them cry on your shoulder and feel everything that they need to feel, all the sadness, all the disappointment, all the frustration, absolutely. But we're also going to remember that even though we're here right now, we won't be here forever. This too shall pass. This won't be a phase that you're in for the rest of your life. If you choose to stay here, then yeah, you could be for the rest of your life. But the reality is you will find someone again. And I think in the midst of heartbreak, you can't imagine loving someone else again. Absolutely. But over time and distance and working on yourself and finding peace and finding contentment in your own self, in your own life, yeah, you eventually will. And then life will move you along. I think it's just a matter of being good to yourself in the moment and helping yourself to go forward and saying the things that you need to say in order to go forward. I mean, it's one of those things. Someone just said, build yourself up. Self-love, care is vital for your well-being. Thanks, Stephen. I mean, like, preach. Like, that's just the truth though, like if someone that you was your best friend, your mom, your sister, your husband, or whoever, someone that you really love that's near and dear, even a total stranger, if you met a stranger on the street and they just confided in you of what they were going through, it was like that time I was in court, going through the divorce and like all that stuff or whatever. And I'm sitting there next to this woman. If you have empathy and you can connect to someone else, even if you don't know them, regardless of what they're going through, and you can connect to them, you know how to be a good human being. You just do. So have empathy for yourself and be able to give yourself, I kind of like went off there. I was going to tell a story, but I'm not going to. But give yourself what you would give your best friend, which is validation, which is being, soothing that person. Like, everything's okay. Like, you won't, I 100% say that to myself, like, you're good. We're okay. Like, don't worry. Like, just like I would do to a child, just like hopefully your mom or dad or grandma or whoever, someone when you were a child did to you when you fell. There was one person that would pick you up and go, everything's going to be all right. And they would soothe you. So you got it. Not that you're going to always sit there and just rock and hold yourself. But I think just saying those affirmations, I wish that light wasn't doing that. Just doing those affirmations will eventually calm the mind down, right? That's why they're mantras. Because eventually the mind will start to soothe itself from hearing those phrases versus you continuing to say the things that are scaring yourself or keeping yourself stuck there. It's a huge piece. And then, of course, being able to pick ourselves up, and keep ourselves moving forward, which is you're going to find an amazing partner, which is you're going to, move on from this and life's going to go on and you're going to have a great life. Like, don't lose sight of that. It's important. You have to be able to do that for yourself. I should have just done that the whole time. Close that. That's part of it, right? That's why you're a good friend to the people that you love, is because you do that for them. So just flip that around and start being able to do that for yourself. But you can't do that for yourself unless you slow down and unless you learn how to be connected to here and how to have a relationship with yourself in that way. I mean, it's important, so, but it's a practice, just like with your friends or family or loved ones. There are times where you do the wrong things and you say the wrong things and you hurt them. You do. And what do? You own it, own that stuff, own that you made a mistake, own that I didn't say what I should have said. I have to do that to myself. I have to apologize to myself. Like, hey, look, I'm sorry. I just said that and that wasn't okay. I shouldn't have done that. I do that quickly internally in my head because, again, that builds the relationship with myself. I don't want to start having this detachment where I don't trust myself, or when I do try to motivate myself, that part of myself is like, yeah, whatever, okay, we're not going to do that. You know what I mean? I want a good relationship with myself. And just like anyone else, in order to have that good relationship, I have to do those things. I have to nurture that relationship. I have to be present for that person. I have to apologize when I'm wrong. All of that type of stuff. So you're just doing it with your own self, basically. But yeah, let's do a little more. What time is it? I gotta get some cooking done. I'm always apologizing. That's okay. I just like anything, and then just learn, how could I do this better? The more you slow down, the more you're very inquisitive and the more you're very curious to wanting to take care of your own self and start having a really good relationship with yourself. Like, it will get easier and easier and you won't apologize as much, because when you start doing the right things, you start having a good relationship. That's just kind of the way it goes. How to give up the toxic hope that someone will change. I don't know if you actually put this in the community, but that was on there. Here's the thing: how to give up the toxic hope that someone will change. Wanting someone to change is wanting control. I need you to be this way in order for me to be okay. Now, wanting someone to change and accepting who they are because you have to leave a relationship, that's something completely different. But I think when you come from, not so much lack, and because I say this to everyone, I say this to all my clients, what you're dealing with right now, if I could tell you, if I was God and I could say, all right, I'm going to give you what you want. It's not this person. It's this person. I'm going to give this person to you. You don't have to work for it at all. I'll just pop it in your lap. Would you take that or would you keep this? you wouldn't want this change. You wouldn't care if it changed. You would just go, okay, I'm going to get what I want. So, losing that hope that someone's going to change, it's really just about accepting who this person is and what they're capable of, knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and then knowing that what you do want, it exists and I will get it. When you come from that kind of a space, then you don't stay stuck in these wheels of wanting someone to change so badly. Now, and I also think that you got to learn how to love people where they're at. I mean, if you're ending a marriage and you have children involved, guess what? That person's with you for the rest of your life. There are relationships that I've had that, yes, I don't see that person anymore. I don't share children with them or share anything with them really. But if I saw them today, I would have no problem with giving them a hug and saying, "Hey, how are you?" And people stay with you for a lifetime. So you don't shut love off. Love just changes based on whether or not someone's good for me. So, any ex person I've ever been with, I will love them forever. I don't wish bad upon them. I have forgiven everyone. I don't need revenge or anything like that. I wish everyone well, and you know, but I don't need them to change in order for me to be okay. And also accepting that who they are in my life looks like this. Yes, it wasn't what I thought it was going to look like. I wouldn't want that relationship to look like what it looks like, but I don't have any control over it. It takes two to tango. So if that person doesn't want to meet me in the middle based on my standards, I have to accept that and just be okay with what the relationship actually is and love the person regardless for what they can provide, whatever little amount that is. Now, that doesn't mean you have to keep someone in your life, but it just means that you have monitored your expectations on what a person can give you. Let's see. Let's see. What else is going on? I swear these things come on like super fast. Ruby Star, Breach Girl. Telling you, you gotta. It's just such a better life once you like fully accept who you are and you fully accept people for who they are. It doesn't mean you're not going to get disappointed by them or frustrated by them sometimes. We're humans. I mean, when you let go of the ego on that level, then you're some highly enlightened person. But I mean, dude, that takes work. So for us normal average people, just keep working and like you'll dissolve all of that kind of stuff. But just focus on you and focus on being happy and feeding your soul every single day, having a good life, living a purposeful life, finding peace and joy in the present moment, whatever that moment looks like, even if you're not where you want to be, even if you're not where you want to be, you still have everything that you need if you really keep it real. So if you learn to kind of live more like that, and again, it's a practice, like, you know what I mean? Like I could say all this right now, and in 3 hours, all of a sudden my mind just falls asleep and starts worrying about something, but I got to be aware. Like the minute I'm like, oh, wait, I don't feel good. Why am I not feeling good? Oh, because I'm worried about this. Like, okay, let's stay back. Let's pull that back and pull it back. And let that go. I have no control over that. Eckhart Tolle said once, I mean, it's like literally the simplest thing ever. And I'm sure a million people have said this before and they'll continue to say it. And people have probably said it to you and me. Worrying is literally the most purpose, like it serves no purpose. Nothing is going to come of it. Nothing is going to come of worrying and stressing. I don't know. When I heard that like a couple days ago, I was like, wow, that just like really like hit home. Even though I like obviously knew it, I was like, there's literally no purpose to it. Nothing is going to come of it. So why torture yourself? Can people can people who take blame for their faults still be narcissistic? I think someone who has true MPD, no, they can't really completely own it. They'll own it if it means that by them owning something that they can get something out of you. Maybe that can happen. I have a lot of inner work, and I know it goes into relationships, and I can stay on track. Right, not to think in lack and fear. You just gotta be aware. Again, I feel like I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but if you're aware that you're sitting in a bunch of lack and fear, then, excuse me, ask yourself why. Because lack and fear is just you being scared. So what are you scared of? And if you start to dissolve, like for me, especially when I'm working with clients, whatever the fear is, whatever the lack and then fear, fear is at the top. If you break down what your fears are, you start to realize that they're actually not real. And then once you realize that, you stop feeding it. The more you feed it, the bigger it gets and the more it's going to feel real, right? If you've ever had an anxiety attack or a panic attack, you legit feel like it's real, like 100%, because you fed something for so long that it manifested into that anxiety, into that panic. So understanding that none of this stuff is real, it's just made up stuff in the mind. And the more you can learn how to back away from it, give it some space so you can decide how you want to handle things. And even not handle things, some things don't need handling. Some things are just nonsense. And you know that, like you've thought of something where you're like, that was ridiculous, goodbye. And then there are other things that it's hitting a chord in that wound, in that insecurity, in that lack, in that fear, or whatever. And so you feed it a little, even though you know you shouldn't, you still feed it a little. You ruminate with it for 1 second, you let it marinate just a little too long. And then that just catapults you into some legit worrying that you don't need to be doing. It's crazy how fast the mind can just like spiral into something. I was doing pretty good at that for a while. But it's, once you learn this, you don't ever forget it. Then it just becomes a matter of just like, practicing it when it comes up, right? Let's see. How do you deal with a partner who's always bringing out spiritual aspects of me? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Oh my God, absolutely. All right, you guys, I think I'm going to actually do a little cooking now. Oh, hold on. Hold on. What is this? I have no idea how to do this. I'm so bad with technology sometimes. Don't know how to do this. All right, don't know how to do that. Sorry. I see these like green things where people want to ask me a question. So they I guess you're paying money to ask me. Why am I not? I have no idea about technology. And you would think I'm on YouTube, that I would know more about this, but I don't. All right. No, I don't have a psychology degree. I have a bachelor's in business management. And I have certificates for, because I went to culinary school. So I can teach you how to make a creme brulee with the best of them. You guys are so funny. Thank you so much. You hold my girlfriend, I be stronger woman. Oh, I'm so glad. I love what I do. I'm so thankful. But I will say, I literally, I love creme brulee too. I literally just said with this career and me doing this is the one thing. Actually, no, culinary school was that too, where I said, I don't know what I want to do with it and I don't care. I'm just going to try it. That was the one thing that I did that I was like, okay. And nothing came of it. I loved that I went to culinary school. I love cooking. Not this week though. I think it's going to be a takeout week. Let's just keep it real. Mama's out of juice. I got nothing. I'm not creative in the kitchen right now. I have no idea what to be cooking. And I'm not craving anything either. But anyways, but this was the one thing that I went for. And I had no idea what was going to come of it. I just said F it. And I was just like, let me just try. You got to just say F it and try. And I'll tell you, a lot of entrepreneurs, if you hear their story, they say, that they just said F it and they just tried and they just kept trying and trying and trying. And probably the one thing that they all have in common is they just didn't stop until they got to where they wanted to be. But for me, it's more than just like building a brand and a business and like, you know, trying to be a Tony Robbins, which I don't want to be. It's just about, number one, I just love helping people and I love what I do, but it's also finding the balance between being that achiever and just enjoying my own life and finding peace in life and having that spiritual practice and learning how to love myself constantly, regardless, and working on my own self, right? Like that's the balance. You can have all the money in the world, all the success in the world, and it don't mean nothing if you ain't happy. So find the balance between those two things and see which side you struggle the most with, maybe both. But maybe you're like, you know what, I am very spiritual, I feel good, but I just am fearful of starting something and I really want to do this. And I don't ever I don't know how to start. I don't know where to begin. Like where are your fears? It's really important to break down what your fears are. Because then, like I said, you're doing all this work on yourself. You might as well get something out of it. Might as well get out of something. Might as well get out of the pain that you've been in, the confusion that you've been in. You best be learning something that you can take to your next situation or the next part of your life. Whatever that looks like, learn the lessons and get better and don't stop. You know what I mean? Like whatever you want for yourself, like go after it. I finally learned that concept of it's not the destination, it's the journey, and just enjoying that journey. And you'll get to the destination eventually. You'll get to the goal as long as you don't stop. So just enjoy yourself along the way. Learn to let things go. Don't hold things with you constantly because it's just keeping you stuck in cycles that aren't good for you. So just look at today, just today. Don't look at necessarily tomorrow. And yeah, you could set goals for yourself, long-term stuff, absolutely. But just also stay focused on like just this moment, just today. Be present with who you're with and what you're doing. And you'll find happiness in that. Nancy D. Great truths. All right, guys, listen, enjoy your Sunday, Monday, wherever you are in the world. And I'll chat with you guys later. Video's going live on Tuesday. I'll post this live once I'm done. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm glad. I wish we could get more with the whole like bringing people on. I know like Instagram, you can do that. Although every time I try to bring someone on, it doesn't work. So I don't understand. If you want to follow me on Instagram too, it's Stephanie Lynn Coaching. All right, guys, enjoy.